Hey guys, this is Undercover Dudes all the way from Down Under, and today we're going to be talking about Ranked in Paladins. With Ranked 2.0 on the horizon, I thought I would go and share my thoughts on the weird dynamic of casual versus Ranked in Paladins, and how Ranked 2.0 can completely go and push Paladins to new heights. This isn't going to be an in-depth breakdown of all the new rank changes that's been done by a ton of other YouTubers. This is my perception of rank coming from a newish player and how 2.0 can completely go and change that. Paladins is a weird game. A game with decks and builds, along with a large roster of champions to play. Core gameplay mechanics which go and value aim, along with a core mode which needs a variety of strategies in order to go and pull off a win. If you have never heard of Paladins before, you would say that sounds like the perfect recipe for a competitive game, and you would be completely right. However, the perception of competitive gameplay in Ranked does not fit exactly what one would go and assume. Now please note, I'm not talking about esports or in general the high tiers of competitive play. That is something completely separate which I may go and discuss down the line. All I'm talking about today is the perception of Ranked that I can personally see and how Paladins doesn't fit into that traditional mold. When I first started playing Paladins, I treated it as a purely casual experience, as I do for most games when I first start playing them. Before I even try to gauge my skill against other players, I first try to learn every character, map and mode to a sufficient extent. Generally, that extent is where I could feel somewhat comfortable with a decent array of champions to go and pull from each different role. However, I generally do have a focus towards the DPS and tank roles, and therefore I would have a little bit more emphasis on those type of roles, and then less emphasis towards, let's say, the flankers or the healers per se. Now, this process of learning the game was what pulled me in, as Paladins is a game that is dripping with depth and content, and it can be explored at my own pace as I see fit. Also, whenever I go and play a new game, I generally frequent the respective subreddit, in this case, the Paladins subreddit. Through this subreddit is generally where I get my first taste of what Ranked and competitive can be, as I've done with Counter-Strike Global Offensive, League of Legends, Overwatch, and even small niche shooters like Dirty Bomb. For those games, whenever I go and hop onto the subreddit, I generally see people complaining about their rank, people celebrating their victories, people clipping plays from their pro idols. But Paladins was noticeably absent of this. This was super puzzling, as Paladins has the makings of a competitive game, arguably even better than Overwatch due to that large array of hit champions, which can naturally go and lead to a very competitive pick and ban phase. So as I grinded the levels, I kept working towards the competitive threshold in order to go and experience what the game has to offer in that extent. Now to be fair, throughout this grind I very much knew that Ranked 2.0 was on the way, and I knew that less people would be playing it as they quote unquote didn't really care about Ranked, they didn't really care about the Ranked experience. But this is comparable to, let's say, pre-seasons in League of Legends. But in that game, people still play Ranked for the sake of it, even when it realistically means nothing. So when I got to play Ranked, I was severely disappointed, and I could truly see why very few people cared about Ranked in Paladins. It had a piss poor pick ban, a match that very much felt like a casual game, resulting in simply giving me a number for my play sim that gave off a feeling that competitive had been forgotten. But again, I knew this all along due to Ranked 2.0 coming out, due to people saying on the forums, Ranked 2.0 is coming out and we don't really care about Ranked so much, the post once in a while. So with that said, I went into this knowing it. But I had to go and experience it firsthand, right? And when I experienced firsthand, I was disappointed, as I said before, but I was excited. I was excited for where Paladins could go, and my reason was very simple. Very few multiplayer games in 2017 can survive without the support of a ranked mode and esports. It seems that when people play, they initially play for fun, but as soon as they go and get past that honeymoon period and they really sink their teeth into the meat of the gameplay, the flesh of the gameplay, they instantly want to go and hop into a ranked or a competitive mode and go and prove themselves. Very few first-person shooters in 2017 can go and say they will thrive without a competitive mode. Call of Duty and Battlefield, they go and really shine as the two big examples, and to be perfectly honest, I think the Battlefield example is simply because the game has been progressive throughout its lifetime without that esports scene, and therefore the people have just grown up without it. And when you have a look at Call of Duty, that series has been out for so long. you look at the rest of the landscape, there is not many other IPs that really go and produce first-person shooter games on a, a really year-to-year basis. The only other one is Titanfall 2, but have a look at Titanfall 2. That game is definitely going dropping down in numbers. It simply didn't have enough time to go and establish itself as a casual game, a fast-paced casual game, and therefore the only reason people would go and come back would potentially be a ranked mode. The fact that Paladins, a game that is very much ranked ready, could go and survive with such a low percentage of players actually caring about the ranked mode, it's absolutely astonishing. In this game, people actually play it because they enjoy. And that overall, a lot of people say that is, pretty self-explanatory. If you don't like a game, why would you go and play it? Well, we have a case example, League of Legends and Counter-Strike Global Offensive. In those games, people play it. Even though they may not like it, they play it for that competitive rush. They want to go and get better. They want to go and become the best. And even though they may not agree with where the game is going or the changes or whatever, and even if they might not like the game in general, they still play it for that competitive rush because so many games can't go and provide that. The timing of Ranked 2.0 couldn't be better in my opinion. Despite not playing too much Overwatch myself, I've watched Overwatch esports from the very, very start. And right now the competitive side is in a very stale state. Dive comp after dive comp, and it's all because you can't go and ban heroes. The amount of people that will go pick up Paladins when Rank 2.0 is implemented simply to go and try the other side of the rank coin will be significant, and I don't think it's something that Blizzard is predicting. I think Blizzard is complacent with Overwatch because, in my opinion, they didn't even think that this game would even go competitive. They thought it was just simply going to be a casual shooter, but then the community was just saying competitive, 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 and that drive is what I believe they're thinking they're just going to keep riding. As you can see, the Overwatch League, extremely delayed, competitive tournaments in a complete mess, and overall, I think Overwatch esports is in a bubble that may go and burst in the future. But with that said, Paladins is a game that, even though it may not have been set up for competitive from the very start, it has that sense of competitive nature simply because it has the depth, simply because it has the potential for pick and ban because of the large array of champions, and from that, a competitive game can form due to the great maps, due to the great mode, and due to the great mechanics. So to go and put this right on a pin's head, Paladins is a game that, for the longest time, has been in a pseudo-competitive state. What I mean by that is, we have competitive, we have ranked, but none of it has been fleshed out. It's simply there, it's simply existing, but it's not being capitalized till its fullest. And personally, I think this will be the flipping of the coin for Paladins. A lot of people right now go and judge Paladins as simply as a Overwatch clone, and that it really doesn't go bring anything to the table. I think that is completely wrong after I've gone and actually played the game for quite a decent amount of time. I think it goes and brings more to the table than Overwatch. Now, in the lore department, of course not, but when it comes to the gameplay, I think that Paladins is overall a more gripping experience because every time you go and hop into the game, you're guaranteed to go and face something different. There's going to be a completely different team comp. There's going to be people running different cards, different decks, different load, different everything. And then you put that all together, and you're always going to get a unique experience. You're not guaranteed that in Overwatch, and in competitive and in ranked and whatnot, very much you're going to be facing the same thing. And even though people want to go and prove themselves on a daily basis, there's a limit where you're just versing the same thing every single time. Because if you're versing the same thing every single time, it gets stale, it gets boring. And overall, if it is boring, people will eventually go and veer away. Paladins, on the other hand, you're going to be facing something that is unique every single time. And I think that's going to be a big drawing card for people to go and migrate from Overwatch to Paladins. I've been seeing posts on the Paladins subreddit where people go and say, I've played Overwatch, I'm Grandmaster, blah 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 blah, and I'm playing Paladins because I think it's a game that offers more than what Overwatch does at the moment. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this long, convoluted rant about Paladins and competitive and ranked and whatnot. If you guys want to go and see more, make sure to go and hit that like button, make sure to go and click that subscribe button as well. But other than that, Undercovered is all the way from Down Under, out.